It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here. That's what you've earned here tonight.
Forget about the crowd. It's the size of the school. Their fancy uniforms. And remember what got you here. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
On this team, we tear ourselves and everyone else around us to pieces for that inch. We claw with our fingernails for that inch because we know when we add up all those inches, that's gonna make the difference between winning and losing.
It's down to the wire with Errol Marks and Speedy Petey.
Oh, Petey!
On the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Down to the Wire. As you know, we are live every single Monday and Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. Remember, you can call us at 631-965-4990. And remember, you can follow us by going to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And guys, if you don't have our app, download our app. How do you do that? You go on the iOS, the Apple, your Apple phone, and go into the search bar and go to WWSRN. And if you have an Android, all you have to do is go to search the Play Store and go to Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You find us, you see our logo, you download it, you can follow us, our shows live, you can listen to us live. If you're driving home and you can't watch us, you can listen to the clips, you can read our stories, you can listen to the replays of our shows. So they're all right in your fingertips. That's all you have to do. It's all good for all the fans that don't know how to use social media. So download the app. And then you could actually go to our website as well on our app. So it's so easy to use, and it's great for all the fans out there to keep up with what we're doing all over the country. We have a big show, a really great show lined up for you guys today. We're going to be talking to Yale basketball head coach James Jones at the 6:30 mark, and we are also going to be talking to at 7 o'clock the URI baseball head coach Raphael Cerrato. So that's going to be interesting as well. If you guys like baseball, you like basketball, it's going to be a great show. So stay tuned for our two special guests very, very soon. 6:30, James Jones. But the story I really want to get into in the beginning of this show is a story, and not because I'm a Jet fan, because that has nothing to do with it. It really doesn't. It's, to me, a joke. What really the New York Jets have been doing with Jamal Adams and what Jamal Adams is doing to the New York Jets. Now, I understand Jamal. Jamal has been the best safety in football for the last 2 years. Derwin James is right behind him, who missed practically the whole season last year because of injury. And the safety position has become a very important position moving forward, especially DBs. You can move them. You can move them in the cornerback and the nickel packages. You can do a lot of things. Blitz him. Do all what you want. And Jamal Adams is very, very good at every single aspect of the DB position.
Outside linebacker, too. We're seeing a lot of safeties move around, too.
But right now, the New York Jets are still in control of Jamal Adams' contract. He's still on contract for the Jets for next year as well, so that's 2 years, and they can franchise him if they really feel up to doing. Now, he can decide to sit out this season because he wants to make the money, and that quite possibly could happen. And that's why the Jets decided to add a safety in this year's draft. But to me, Jamal Adams is acting like a big baby. He really is. I understand. You are one of the best safeties, or if not the best safety in football. We all knew you were going to be one of the best safeties in football when you were drafted by the Jets. Now, I'm not taking shots at Jamal Adams completely because I also can hand a lot of shots at Adam Gase and maybe a little bit, just a little bit, on Joe Douglas. Now, Joe Douglas, you saw what he did this offseason. He didn't spend a lot of money. He moved the money around very, very well in the offensive line, adding Font, adding the different personalities on that offensive line that you're going to be adding this coming season. You drafted some offensive linemen. You really rebuilt the offensive line in one off season, which you expected Joe Douglas to do because that's what he's good at. But the whole Jamal Adams thing has been a complete, utter, ridiculous story that is not going away for the New York Jets.
Now, again, with Joe Douglas now kind of being in this situation for the first time with the Jets, because let's not forget, even though he was with other teams in the past, players weren't as fussy as they are now in terms of with holdouts, young players getting mad right away at their teams. Do you think that's just new for him, where he doesn't want to be impulsive at the same time and pay him right away? Because we've seen that hurt a team like the Rams, who had a bunch of contract issues because they paid their players right away, and now they have a lot of bad contracts where they can't fill out the roster. So maybe he's trying to be more patient for that reason.
I don't know what he's trying to do. And I understand, and I trust, in Joe I trust, because you saw what he did in the draft. This is the first time I've seen a GM move back and add draft picks in two different rounds, in two separate rounds, and also made a trade with the New England Patriots and added 2 4th-round draft picks in the 6th round next year, which was an incredible move by him.
Right. Doing what you normally see the Patriots do.
But this story just keeps going further and further along. It doesn't help the organization. It doesn't help Jamal Adams moving forward. I understand Jamal wants to be the highest paid safety in football. We all understand that. And he is going to be the highest safety paid in the future. Absolutely is. If he keeps playing the way he is and getting better and better every single year, he's going to make a lot of money. Now, I do believe he wants to go to the Cowboys. He grew up a Cowboy fan. I mean, the stories coming out with the Dallas Cowboys, they want Jamal Adams. I understand that. But to get Jamal Adams, you're going to have to give up a lot. You're not going to the Jets aren't just going to hand a Pro Bowl, all-pro safety for nothing.
And not to mention, Dallas is also financially strapped, too, where that's going to be a big commitment for them, where they still have other holes on defense, too, to solve. So if they do that, they're going to invest a lot into the star player, the big name, a great player, no doubt. But again, is that going to be worth it for them if they have to give up multiple firsts? And again, if they aren't able to pay guys like Leighton Vander Esch and some of the younger offensive linemen down the road, that's a big question for them too. So it'll be interesting on both ends how it works. And again, I think Douglas, like I said, is being patient for the reason of you don't want to just do it impulsively and tend to the players right away, because that could hurt you in the case of like a team like the Rams, like I was saying.
Now, honestly, all the fans out there listening to the show right now, and if you're a Jet fan, and maybe you're not a Jet fan, maybe you're just a Jamal Adams fan, do you think the Jets should be paying Jamal Adams right now when he's still under contract for 2 more years and they can still franchise him? How about Russell Wilson demanding the contract that he got before the Seattle Seahawks gave him the contract that he wanted? And I'm not talking about his first contract. I'm talking about his second. And to me, Jamal Adams is still not available to make that attempt or make that argument that he deserves $100 million from the New York Jets. Because to be honest with you, as good as Jamal Adams has been since he's come into the league, Jamal Adams has been a problem not only to the press, but to the locker room. Now, everybody says, well, what are you talking about? He's a leader in the locker room. Yes, but he airs out the Jets' business when he talks to the press. He's telling everybody that he can't stand losing. So what are you saying? The Jets are a losing organization? As a player, maybe they are a losing organization, but as a player and a player that's playing for that organization, you don't mention these things about an organization, even though you don't mean to mention those things when you're talking to the press. But he says it. And as a Jet fan, it annoys me because this team right now, in my eyes, is moving in the right direction with Joe Douglas. Yeah. I don't know about Adam Gase. I don't think Adam Gase is the coach of the future for this organization. But for right now, he is the head coach of the New York Jets. He is. And there's no argument to that. And I think all the Jet fans that are complaining about the coaching and this and that and why these players aren't being used right, could you do better? Seriously. Could you do better? This organization hasn't won since 1969. They haven't won anything. They've been to 2 AFC title games. 2 of them. In the last, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, I think the last one before they had the 2 with Rex Ryan was 1980-something.
It's an embarrassing organization. And I'm saying that as a Jet fan. They've been an embarrassment as an organization for the last 30, 40 years. They don't draft right. They bring in GMs that don't know what the hell they're doing. The coaches they bring in, what are they around? The longest one they've had so far is Rex Ryan for 5.5 years. They bring in Todd Bowles. He lasted 3 years. Al Groh, he was fired after the first year. Rich Kotite, first year. You want me to go down the list? Eric Mancini, 2.5 years. Herman Edwards, how long was he with the Jets? 4 years?
4 years, yep.
The Jets have had an organization ran poorly. You want to say it's ownership? I don't blame ownership. Ownership opens up their pockets. Now, everybody says ownership has a lot to do with building a team. I beg to differ on that.
Well, it depends on the circumstances, too. Like, the Jets do a lot of things that I don't think are as, like, obviously bad. Like, you could tell with certain bad ownership. Like, I always bash the Dolphins all the time, the Redskins, teams like that. You can tell when the contracts are bad. And again, the Jets do some questionable things, sure, but so does every other organization. So I think, again, it's a work in progress. And finally, you're seeing the Jets actually try to go in the right direction, whereas in the past, they were just trying to build a defense and then patch their offense together through free agency, which rarely works.
And this is not about the Jets. This whole topic has nothing to do with the Jets as much as we're talking about the Jets right now, because Jamal Adams has something to do with the Jets organization. And this is an embarrassment right now for Jamal Adams. I don't care how great of a player you are, Jamal. And I'm going to say this, and I know you're probably not listening, but nevertheless, I'm going to speak the way I feel as a New York Jet fan. If you're a player and you want $100 million and you believe you deserve that kind of money as a strong safety or a free safety in this league, and you can play multiple positions, Jamal Adams, he's proven that. If you want that money, keep playing. Keep playing hard, prove your worth, and you will get paid.
Yeah, and I think as well, we've seen teams or players lose out money once they do end up sitting out a year or do end up holding out the way they did. Now, again, the safety position is rising a little more. Most of the other players...
How many great safeties are in this league? Maybe 5? 6?
I would say, let's see, Harrison Smith, I would say Honey Badger, I would say Jamal Adams, and Derwin James, I would say is 4. Yeah, it's probably the top echelon because a lot of the other guys that were great coverage safeties that used to be fell off a little bit. All right, so you could say in that 4 realm. And I think Harrison Smith's the highest paid, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he is right now, but Jamal Adams is going to make that money. Actually, Landon Collins is the highest paid.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. So Landon Collins is the highest paid. But again, I don't think anyone's going to top his market. I think that was more of the exception of the market. Like I was saying earlier when we were talking about ownership.
And he wants
the
that
Redskins
money.
overpay everybody.
Jamal Adams wants that kind of money, and he's going to get that money. He will get that money when he becomes a free agent. Jamal Adams is 23, 24 years old. He's a kid. He's a kid. He will be a free agent at the age of 26, just like
Landon Collins.
Not even just like Landon Collins, just like the guy the Jets brought in at the linebacker position. You know who I'm talking about. C.J. Mosley, who the Jets paid $85 million to. Okay? So I do believe Jamal Adams will get whatever he wants. And the Jets will give him a $100 million contract. And if not, they're going to trade him and they're going to get a lot back for him. And for all the Cowboy fans that keep stating that they need Jamal Adams and Jamal Adams needs them, it's ridiculous. Because the Jets aren't moving him for garbage. They're not going to do that. I know that's what the beef thinks. And he's been speaking so highly of Jamal Adams like all those stupid Cowboy fans are. And I'm not taking shot at Cowboy fans. But there are stupid Cowboy fans that every single player that becomes available, he's going to the Cowboys.
Well, also the fact of, are they saying that also because of the Jets' trading history? The Jets' mistakes really haven't come from bad trades, though, either. That's more of you look at other dysfunctional organizations, that's not the Jets' problem. The Jets' problem has really just been player development as a whole, and like you were saying earlier, coaching, just they're hiring the wrong coaches.
How could it not bother you as a fan, not just an NFL fan, when you have a player of that magnitude, your best player right now, on paper, not Sam Darnold, Jamal Adams is the best player with the New York Jets, besides... I guess you could say C.J. Mosley.
No, I think Adams is probably better at this point.
I think C.J. Mosley. Okay. I mean, he's been more proven, and C.J. Mosley's only 26 years old. He's still young. So, you want to argue? It's C.J. Mosley, Jamal Adams. Those are your two best players. C.J. Mosley got paid. Jamal Adams will get paid. But the fact that Jamal Adams and this story keeps coming out, not only through the press, but throughout the country, the Cowboys, I mean, what is the newspaper over there in Dallas? I forget.
Too.
But the Dallas newspaper is talking about it, make a move for Jamal. I mean, I think that was the headline. I mean, to me, it's complete, utter ridiculousness. And to me, as a sports fan and as a fan, I understand that this player wants to get paid, and I believe he should get paid from the New York Jets. I do. He deserves to get paid. But for right now, he needs to wait. Needs to wait his turn.
And I think as well, though, the stall is how big are these offers? Now, we heard that Dallas was rumored to trade 2 firsts. How true is that? And maybe Douglas is saying, all right, anyone else want in on this? In on Jamal Adams, who could definitely help out their secondary.
There's a lot of teams that are going to be very interested in
So
Jamal
I think
Adams.
that's what they're waiting for more than anything else. And again, for the players' end of it, it just frustrates them because we're seeing other players get paid right away, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily a good decision to pay all these players
It's
right
not
away.
just the Cowboys, guys. I'm not saying just the Cowboys. There are a lot of teams that will be in it on the sweepstakes for Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams is the best player at his position right now in the league. He is. Right now, he was an all-pro player this year. He is probably the best player at the safety position right now in the league.
And worst case, if you want to nitpick on certain things, he's top 3 with the most upside of anybody. So judge that accordingly as well.
So he's going to get paid. Now, the question is he going to get paid by the Jets, or are the Jets deciding? And Joe Douglas quite possibly could say, you know what, we don't need Jamal Adams. We can move on from him and try to get as much draft stock as we can for Jamal Adams, and then build through the draft the way we did. And you saw what they did. They drafted a safety in the 3rd round. So you know that if it's not Jamal Adams on his way out, it's Marcus May. If they plan to play 3 safeties at the same time, quite possibly could with Williams' defense.
And maybe that's something they're going to experiment with too. Maybe they're going to hold it out into the season where they want to see how these guys fit, maybe if Ashton Davis is a natural free safety kind of thing, if Marcus May steps up bigger in terms of him staying healthy. There's a lot of things maybe they're factoring in to make that decision before they're doing it impulsively too. And it might take it into the season too. And the other thing too is think about this. If the season, we never know, there's with surprise contenders, stuff like that, a team may be more urgent to trade for a defensive back like Jamal Adams at the trade deadline, and they might even sell even higher than what the Cowboys have been doing.
As a Jet fan, I am not happy about Jamal Adams. Speaking to the press, and it seems like it's getting out throughout his agent or his publicist. It's coming out one way or another. And I don't want to hear it. It's not him. It's absolutely him. It's absolutely him. He wants to get the press involved because if the press gets involved, everybody hears about it and it becomes a story. And it is a story for the New York Jets. And the Jets need to jump on this and either erase it and talk to Jamal and tell him to shut his mouth or trade the guy. Move on from him. Because to me, if you don't think Jamal Adams is a part of this team in the future, get him at his highest point. And right now, he was an all-pro player. You can get 2 first-round draft picks for Jamal Adams. You can absolutely do that.
You need a secondary in today's NFL, and teams are going to be desperate for that, especially for a player 24 years old. But again, I guess maybe they're still trying to wait out the offers is my guess. And again, I praise Joe Douglas for that approach because impulsivity doesn't work.
And as far as Marcus May is concerned, I think Marcus May is a great safety. And he could be an all-pro safety in the future. The guy's got to stay on the field. And he was the best defensive player for the New York Jets in the last 5 games of the season. He was the best player, hands down, on the field for the New York Jets the last 5 games.
And again, if he stays healthy and you could trust that option, because he doesn't have the 5th-year option like May does, or like Adams does, because he was a 2nd-round pick. So if they could trust that more and believe maybe they can accumulate the money in other areas, again, it's a gamble with his health, but they could pay him probably on not a discount really, but kind of at a lower level.
You're not going to have to pay him what Jamal Adams is asking for.
Right, that's my point.
$40 million?
You might get him on a content reasonable contract.
4 years, $40 million.
And build up other areas where that could end up making a difference. And again, if the offers are there urgency-wise for teams at the trade deadline too, that could always be a factor.
I think 4 years, $40 million for a Marcus May will get the deal done. It really will. I mean, this is his last year of his contract, of his rookie contract, and then he's a free agent. And I think the Jets had absolutely, if you think Marcus May stays healthy this year and you think he could stay on the field, you absolutely have to re-sign Marcus May. Because Jamal Adams is going to ask for double or quadruple that kind of money. He might ask for 110, 105 at the safety position. Well, and I don't know if the Jets are going to be willing to do that when they're going to have to pay Sam in 2 years.
Right. I don't know about that. I don't know if the Jets will be able to do that. And I don't think that would be realistic for the sense of Landon Collins was 5 years, 85, and that was the exception to the market kind of thing. That was the Redskins being the Redskins and overpaying defensive players.
Jamal Adams is way better than Landon Collins.
I agree. But is it going to be $20 million better? I don't know about that.
I think he's $20 million better than Collins. I absolutely think he is. He's worth probably around between 90 and 95 million. I could see that. That's what the Jets would offer him. 90 to 95 million, $50 million guaranteed.
Right, I'm thinking more in the 90 ballpark too, just because of his upside still and his all around game,
his leadership.
Right. So I think that standpoint, it is definitely likely. Once you get into the 100 range, then you're talking about receiver money, which I don't think you're going to see a safety get right now.
No, I don't think he's going to get that, but I think 90, 95 million is something around his ballpark, and he's going to get that money. If it's not from the Jets, it's going to be from somebody else. Somebody's going to pay Jamal Adams, because Jamal Adams is that good. He really is, and he's only getting better. Right. He had 6.5 sacks last year. 6.5. And how many takeaways? How many fumble returns did he have? I think he had two.
I think he had 2, and I think he had 3 interceptions.
He had 6.5 interceptions.
I think you said sacks. Okay.
No. No, he had 3 interceptions. Okay. That's right. 6.5 sacks last year as a safety. So, and as long as Williams is there, he's going to use him in so many different ways in his defense. So the fact that Jamal Adams wants the money that he wants, I think he needs to stay out of the tabloids, the newspapers, and keep it in house. That's been the problem for the New York Jets for years. They can't keep it inside their house. This has been the problem with the GM, the ownership, and even the coaching. Right. If they can do that, and I believe they can, I think the Jets have a very good opportunity moving forward with some of the young players that they have. And they have, being that the AFC is now open, the AFC East is now open, being that Tom Brady is no longer with the Patriots, this could open up opportunities for the Jets to be good for many, many years to come in that division, especially with Sam Darnold and protecting that kid for the long haul. So
right. I think that's where the ownership end of it, that's where you could blame them more, because they seem to go for a lot of flashy signings. They go, like you were saying, they don't stay out of the tabloids. They just try to get publicity over the Giants kind of thing in New York. So that's where I think you're definitely right about the ownership. I think that's where they're more to blame, and they end up going for flashy signings at times rather than good ones.
Well, Jamal Adams is a good one, but I would not, to me right now, I don't care if he sits out for the season. You have a guy, you can add Davis to that, Ashton Davis, who could play the safety position. If he don't want to play, let him sit out. And then in the offseason, if you decide you want to move on with Jamal Adams, go get yourself a boatload of picks.
Right, and I think the experimentation now with these new corners and Davis, who can play both, is going to be a big factor into judging that too, because if he fits and some of the new corners fit, even if they're on one-year deals, that could end up working for a good team defense too. Now, again, the other factors too is if May can stay healthy and how Greg Williams uses a lot of these guys. So that'll be a big question mark. But again, I think that's why it's going to extend further. And if you're a GM, stay patient, because you want to see how all these factors play in. A lot of the teams that win now win on quantity and balance rather than overpaying certain guys.
And I don't want to keep hearing, and I hear Carl over here on our feed saying, well, what about Joe Flacco? Joe Flacco, we can only hope, doesn't step on the field one time this year for the New York Jets. Hopefully he sits the bench, he works with Sam, gives Sam all the information that he needs to become the quarterback that everybody believes he's going to become. As far as I'm concerned, Joe Flacco was a good pickup by the New York Jets, and I'm not going to argue that point that it wasn't. I thought it was very good for a guy of that quality for $1.6 million right. and a possibility that he can make about 4.6 if Sam Darnold gets hurt and he has to play. So right now, the Jets got Joe Flacco on the cheap. So right. I don't see that to be a bad move by the New York Jets in the organization. 631-965-4990. When we come back, we're going to have the Yale basketball head coach, James Jones, joining with us. It's going to be a great interview, so stay tuned for that here on Down to the Wire.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
631-965-4990. As you guys know, this is Down to the Wire. We are live every single Monday and Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. I told you guys we had a great show lined up for you today. We have two very special guests coming on the show, and we have our first one. We are now talking to Yale's basketball head coach, James Jones. What's going on, James?
Not too much. Just trying to live my best life through all this craziness.
How are you and your family doing right now with this whole pandemic situation?
Well, everybody's safe and healthy, and that's the main thing. And we were actually down in Florida for the last 2 months, and It was a little easier down there because the weather was nicer than in the Northeast, and we were able to get outside and breathe a little bit, so to speak, able to run or ride my bike every day, which really helped your sanity.
Let's get into some basketball conversation. And you are the head coach of the Yale basketball team. And when you think of Yale, you don't think of basketball. You really don't. You really think about scholars and education and doctors and lawyers. You don't think of basketball. Tell me a little bit about the basketball team and really what you have been doing growing the sport over there for Yale basketball.
Well, we're trying to change that perception, right? As a basketball coach, certainly we don't want people to think otherwise, other things other than Yale being a great academic institution. But, our basketball programs have been really good over the last 10 years. We've won 4 of the last 6 championships. We've gone to the NCAA or qualified for it 3 of the last 5 years. So it's been going in the right direction. We've been able to recruit high-level athletes, and our program is such that kids come in, they understand what their roles are, and they're able to play to those roles and their strengths, and for us to be successful. So we've had a nice run here, and we're hoping to continue it. Expanding
on that kind of thing, they're thought of as like the academic school. Now, do you see that on the court with the players being very smart, either whether it's academically, whether it's a book smart, anything like that, in comparison to other spots you coach? And if it does correlate, how do you see it in these practices and these games?
Well, I don't think it's much different because it comes down to basketball IQ. I think that there are kids with high basketball IQs no matter where you coach. Because you can be book smart, but that doesn't mean that you're court smart. And being court smart comes from playing a lot and having great instincts. And we certainly think that we've recruited young men that have those instincts at Yale, but I've been other places where they've been good at that as well. So I don't know that book smart correlates as much as you would think on a basketball court.
Now, recruiting, I've never recruited and I've never coached, so I wouldn't know anything about it. What is it like going inside somebody's house and talking to somebody's parents and telling them that Yale basketball is the place that your kid needs to play for?
Well, it's great to do what I do because I have great belief in what I'm selling. I actually wonder what other coaches tell recruits when they go into the homes. I know that, the kids that graduate from Yale, their next 40 years are going to be a lot better than those that don't. What our graduates have been able to do out in the world have been nothing short of tremendous. So when I go into a home, I sit down and talk to a family and moms and dads and young men that come play for Yale. I'm confident in what I'm talking to them about because I know that they're going to be much better off if they come to Yale and choose our university.
We are talking to Yale basketball head coach James Jones.
Now, do you think with the actual recruiting end of it, you think it's more limited being it's such a conference with a lot of tough schools to get into, academically gifted schools? Does that make the recruiting end tougher, maybe either geographically or, again, in certain areas where these guys still want to stay in school and do something after that rather than just commit to NBA like a one-and-done type player? Does that make it a lot harder to recruit? And if so, how?
No, it makes it easier, actually, because when we go out to recruit, we know who exactly we can look at. My staff does a great job at breaking down transcripts and figuring out who's qualified and who's not qualified to come to Yale. There are a bunch of players. I remember being down in Disney one year, and Eddie Curry was playing, and everybody wanted to go see Eddie Curry play. And I'm like, well, there's no need for me to go see Eddie Curry because he can't get into Yale University. That's not a slight on Eddie Curry. It's just a fact of what it takes academically to get in. So we kind of able to hone in on those young men that can fit who we are academically and go after those kids. So that makes my job a lot easier.
Coach, was it hard for you to step away from the season, especially with this COVID-19, knowing that there isn't going to be March Madness? Everybody can't wait for March Madness. It's something that everybody looks forward to every March. Were you upset that you couldn't move forward with this?
Well, we qualified for the NCAA tournament again, back-to-back years here. And the saddest part about it was my brother Joe actually did it for the first time his first time at Boston University. And the fact that my dad did have an opportunity to peacock with his two sons in NCAA tournament. It really was something that bothered me. We were going to fly him around from city to city and let him see his kids see his kids coach. And, that was something that our family missed out on. And certainly, I don't go to sleep without watching one shining moment to end the basketball season. And it's one of those things that, I think about it where it's the last game of the year and I don't get college basketball for another 5 or 6 months or whatever it is. So, yes, it was certainly tough not to swallow, but, there were bigger things going on in basketball and still all around the country, so we understand it.
This decade, we've really seen Ivy League teams, your team obviously in Yale, who won in 2016. We saw Cornell in the Sweet 16 in 2010. Harvard has won some big games, 14-3 upsets, 12-5 upsets. What does that really show about the Ivy League really being pesky? And do you think your league as a whole is undervalued?
Well, it certainly is. And, mid-majors are undervalued a great deal just because the scheme of selecting teams to play an NCAA tournament is skewed against us. It's all based on quality wins and who you play. And, we never get those quality quad one games at home, all those quad one games we play on the road. So if you're going to go and you're going to beat, a quad one team on the road, it's going to take a Herculean effort to get that done. And trust me, the officials aren't going to help you with it. So it's one of those things that you got to win by 10 to win by 2 on the road, which is very difficult. So, the odds are stacked against us, and along with a lot of other mid-major teams. But, we have to prove ourselves within our league, and thankfully for Yale, we've been able to do that for the last few years.
We are talking to Yale's basketball head coach, James Jones. Now, the NBA has been really branding themselves and trying to bring back the high school players to go and play in the NBA. Now they're bringing in the G League, where the players, some of these high school kids can go to the G League, make about $400,000 or $500,000, get their shoe deal, and then really after 1 year go into the NBA draft and not even have to go play college ball. Do you think that the G League, the NBA bringing in the G League, hurts the fact of your recruitment? And do you think that it might, in the future affect some of the players that you recruit coming to play for your school?
No, it doesn't affect our recruiting at all. It doesn't affect college basketball to a great extent. It affects the level that college basketball was played. But college basketball is always going to be great because of the rivalries. No matter who's in a Yale uniform or who's in a Harvard uniform, that game's going to be sold out every single year. No matter who's in a Duke uniform or who's in a North Carolina uniform, those games are going to be sold out every year, and everybody's going to be sleeping out in Chesapeakeville to go watch the games. It's much greater, a lot more fun when you have Zion Williams playing. But if guys like Zion Williams decide to go to the G League or go overseas and play, certainly that takes away from the level of the game, but it doesn't take away from the excitement on college campuses and the galvanizing effect that college basketball has.
Do you think the discrepancy, if that were to happen, would be different in terms of the powerful teams getting better? Or do you think maybe that kind of thing could even out the playing field with different conferences?
Well, it's even out the playing fields. I mean, it's made it a little bit easier for us to go into North Carolina and lose a game by 3 points. And the other thing, like the one and done thing, is also affected it, where, when Michael Jordan played, there were juniors and seniors on those teams. And now you have, freshmen and sophomore that you have to play against. So when my juniors and seniors go up against freshmen and sophomores, we're going to have a much greater opportunity to win because you just are older, bigger, stronger. Evens out the playing field for you.
Now, Coach, I know a lot of people have been talking about The Last Dance, Michael Jordan, the 98 Bulls, and there's nothing to really watch on TV, so these 10 episodes were absolutely extraordinary because you got to really see behind the scenes what happened in 98, and they went through the Bulls from really the 80s to the 90s to 98. It was really, really impressive the way they brought this documentary to ESPN and Netflix. What were your thoughts? And I'm sure you watched it. What were your thoughts of the 98 Bulls team?
Well, you know what bothered me the most was that there was so much disunity on that team off the court. Dennis Rodman, the distractions that he caused, Michael Jordan, and the way he pursued his team. to help propel them to win championships. That's counterproductive the way I coach. I'm more unifying than not, more for embracing than not. So that bothered me somewhat watching that. And certainly the Michael Jordan's approach worked. They won 6 championships. They never lost one. But that's not to say it wouldn't have worked if he had a different approach to it as well. That was just his approach and it worked for him. It just doesn't happen to work for me. That's not who I am. As a coach, you have to coach your way. So it was disheartening to watch that. Obviously, it was a lot of fun to watch it as it actually happened and unfolded in the 1990s. But to come back and watch it now, it's just a little difficult to know that it wasn't a tight-knit unit where everybody was on the same team, moving in the same direction the entire time. So it broke it down to being a professional sport as opposed to just a sport, right? And that was hard for me to watch.
Could you see that kind of team, obviously not being your team, you mentioned you weren't going to coach like that, but could you see any type of team structured like that win in college basketball?
It would be hard to do it. I would suspect there's some teams that are structured like that we don't know about. I just, for me, I want to bring everybody together. That's the fun of playing basketball, having everybody on the same page and everybody trying to have a unifying goal. And it's not about how much money I make or how much money you make or how much money we make. It's all about us playing together and winning a championship together. And that's all that matters. And me sacrificing part of me for us to become great. And that's the way we've kind of built what we do at Yale, with everybody, taking a role, and some people sacrifice because that's the only way you win championships, unless somebody sacrifices, in my mind.
We are talking to Yale basketball head coach James Jones. Now, James, this upcoming season that's coming up, you have a recruitment class. Is there any particular player that you're excited to coach this year?
Well, I'm excited to coach everybody. I think we have a class of 5 guys coming in. I think they're all going to be pretty good in their own way. We graduated 3 really good players in Jordan Booner, Eric Monroe, and Austin Williams. So there's some minutes there for guys. But I like to think that we have a lot of guys in the program that are going to be able to step in that didn't play this year. So freshmen are going to have their hand full. They're going to have to come in and learn and work real hard and try to be part of the team.
One of those guys that did step up was Paul Atkinson. He was a big man who's averaged 9 points a game in 2019, and now this year was their leading scorer at 17 points a game. He's taken nice strides. What have you seen most in terms of the improvement of his game from this year to from last year?
Well, the improvement of Paul is in all our players is something that we pride ourselves on. Guys getting better each and every year. Paul took a great step. His dad, his name is Paul Atkinson as well, was his assistant high school coach, and he put Paul through the ringer and made it hard for him to have a summer ways of leisure. He's going to make sure that Paul's working out, trying to make himself better, and in doing so, it's made our team better. He's got great footwork. He's tremendous in the post, and we were able to isolate him and help him, and his teammates realized that over his career, he's shooting 65%, so we make sure we get him the ball.
Now, Coach, the NBA, this three-point line and this three-point shot has really been implemented in the game. I believe it's ruined the game. It hasn't helped the game, and it's changed it in so many ways with the Golden State Warriors, with the Houston Rockets. Do you see the NCAA implementing some of these this style of game to recruiting some of these three-point shooters?
Well, I'm not certain what else the NCAA can do, and I'm not sure that I agree with you 100% that it's ruined the game. I think that it's brought in a number of different fans. It's just different now. So I can understand how you could think it's worse than what it was when we watched the Chicago Bulls and the Detroit Pistons and the Boston Celtics back in our day. But it's just a different version of it. I myself am not a huge NBA fan. I'm a huge college basketball fan because of the unity that's on campus and how it has a galvanizing effect. So that's why I'm a fan of college basketball. But I'm not certain what else that the NCAA can do to change the rules to make it more like the NBA.
Talk about the big win that Yale had in the NCAA tournament, 2016 against Baylor. coaching wise, what adjustments did you make to them? Did you game plan specifically different from them? Talk about that. And also, again, your experience, just the adrenaline and how you were feeling throughout that game when they were dominating the way they did against Baylor.
Well, the thing about it is we didn't change anything. We were who we were. We led the nation in rebounding in 2016. Right? We had a really good basketball team, and just because the word was Yale across the chest, you didn't think about us that way. So we had a really good team, and we just played our game and were able to go out and be successful. Our point guard had a tremendous game, Makai Mason. He had 31 points against Baylor in the game. So that was obviously a big point of it, and he just kind of took over and got in on a national spotlight. But we were a very good team all year, and we were just able to go out and play well. And, the next night we played Duke, and we got down by 23 points in the second half, and we cut it to 3 with just under a minute to go, or just over a minute to go, and we had a chance to win that game. So our team was really good, and it wouldn't have surprised me if we would have beaten Duke and went on to the Sweet 16 and made some more noise.
We are talking to Yale basketball head coach James Jones. Now, you just mentioned Duke, and I'm a huge Duke fan, and I've been following Coach K since really the 90s, the Christian Laettners, the Bobby Hurleys, the Grant Hills. When you have the opportunity to coach against a magnificent, respectable coach in college basketball and really throughout the basketball rankings, is it like when you get an opportunity to play a guy like that, do you feel like, do you have jitters when you play him, or you structure your game and your game plan against the team that you're playing against?
No, I've been coaching a long time now. So I don't get jitters what we get anybody that we play. But I will tell you, when I went down, we played down in Cameron, I think a year or two ago, and I told Coach K before the game, it's just unbelievable what they created down there. If you're a college basketball fan and it's a destination, and people come from all over the country just to watch a game in that building, just to feel the energy and what it's like. They kind of set up a little mall system where Cameron is, and across from Cameron is a huge bookstore, a huge store where they sell Duke gear, and they have it all lit up during nights of games, and the energy in the building is something tremendous. So what he's created down there is something amazing. But as a coach, I don't get excited about playing anybody. I game plan for who we play, and we're trying to win.
Last question for me. This new instant impact transfer portal, you don't have to sit out a year in basketball anymore. We're seeing it ever since the tournament got canceled. These players just moving on and they get to play right away. Are you in favor of that kind of system, or are you in favor of the original way it was, where you did have to sit out a year and the transfer policy wasn't as easy as it is going to be now?
Yeah. Well, that rule hasn't gone through, has it?
I've seen some of it where there's a lot of them.
Say again?
I've seen a lot of them already transfer. A lot of big names have already transferred. And I think from what I've seen from College Basketball Insider, some of them do have instant eligibility.
Oh, well, they have to get waivers for that. But there is a rule that they're trying to put through now where everyone has automatic eligibility. And you could have a one-time transfer rule and not sit out. So the answer to the question to that is no, I'm not in favor of that. I think it's something that, we give young men and young women the wrong message. If you make a commitment, you should try to stick to it and deal with it as best you can. Obviously, there's some certain situations where it just doesn't fit. But to go and sit out and learn in a new program, I think that's the right thing to have to do. I don't believe that we should just be jumping ship. The transfer portal is full of kids right now. I have no idea what it would look like if, in fact, everybody can transfer without any kind of penalty. You have to re-recruit your kids, and we do that to some extent anyway. We recruit your kids every year. It would just be a very difficult thing, and it would crush the mid-major programs, absolutely crush. I'm not worried so much about Yale because the kids that come to Yale are committed. I've been at Yale for 21 years, and I haven't had one kid transfer in 21 years, so I'm not so much worried about my program, but I am worried about mid-major programs. A place like Sacred Heart, where Anthony Atina coaches, he's had his best player leave most every single year. So that he does a great job recruiting, finding guys that are under-recruited that nobody wanted, helping them succeed, helping them become better. They put up great numbers and then they leave. I just don't think that's the way college basketball should be done. I don't think that's the right lesson to teach.
Coach, before we let you go, Yale is not too far away from us. We would love to come over there during the season if there's no pandemic or they'll let us, and we would love to come over there and interview your players live over there in your gym.
Anytime you like, feel free to give a call. I'll be more than happy to have you guys come over and break a little bread and spend some time with my team.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. Tell the fans how they can find you on social media.
Well, I'm on Instagram and Yale Coach Jones, and that's about it for me. I'm kind of an old head, and then my assistant just got me into hanging out on Instagram, so I do that a little bit now, and I've actually enjoyed that, especially through these times, keeping in contact with some former players and trying to put the Yale message out there.
Well, James, Coach, this is a great interview, and you really gave us some good insight, not only the NCAA, but you gave us some good insight of The Last Dance and really the NBA and what you think of the NBA. We really appreciate you joining us.
All right, listen, you guys have a great one. Feel free to call anytime.
Thank you so much, Coach. Coach Jones, ladies and gentlemen, great interview. Gave us some good insight of everything, of college basketball, Yale, everything. And if you guys want to hear the replay of the interview, you can absolutely hear the clips. I'm sure Speedy will post it up after the show. So when we come back, what time do we have the URI?
7:15 is the URI coach.
Well, it's 7:15. We're going to have the URI baseball head coach, Raphael Cerrato, coming up. But when we come back, we'll get more into the NFL, and we'll get some MLB conversation as well before we get Raphael on the show. Here on Down to the Wire.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Six 631-965-4990. This is Down to the Wire. We are live every single Monday and Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. As you know, you can call us at 631-965-4990. And you can follow us by going to our website at worldwidesportsradio.com. Well, I would like to thank James Jones for joining us. If you guys didn't hear the interview, he is the Yale head coach of basketball. Gave us some good insight of where he believes the NCAA is going moving forward with this pandemic. He gave us some good insight with The Last Dance. It was a great interview, so if you guys want to hear the replay, Speedy will probably post it up on our clips. It was a sensational interview, and we will have URI baseball head coach Raphael Cerrato joining us in just a few moments. But before we do that, Speedy, the onside kick situation for the NFL.
So the NFL has proposed a possible rule change because of the low amount of onside kicks last year. I think there were only 4 recovered in the entire league. That teams, instead of going for onside kicks now, could take a 4th and 15 from their own 25-yard line, and they could do it 2 different times in a game, and actually any time in a game, which is very interesting to me. Not just the third quarter or the fourth quarter. They could do it any time in the game they want to. So it's an interesting substitution. You said it all the time. They're trying to eliminate kickoffs a lot of the time. They're trying to eliminate as much more special teams
because
contact.
of CTE.
Right. So maybe this is the next step for it. But again, that is the idea. 4th and 15 from their own 25-yard line, and they could try to start up another 75-yard drive after just scoring.
I don't like this rule. I really don't. I understand the NFL is trying to implement different rules where it's going to make the game a little bit more fun or easier to watch. This doesn't help the game. I'm sorry. If you're going to take away onside kicking, you might as well take away kick returns or punt returns and just completely take it away. And I've said this over and over again. I think it will help out as far as the concussion situations. If you look at, I think they said 62 or 63% of the concussion situations that happen are from kick returns and punt returns. So if you want to take that away and you want to implement a no rule, just take it away completely. Now, I know it doesn't help teams. It doesn't help players for getting drafted because special teams is a part of the game. But also, you can keep your own players. You can keep your superstar players. If you decide to take that away, yes, does it hurt for bringing in special team guys? Absolutely does. But it also helps the fact that you can sign a guy like Jamal Adams because you're going to have enough money to pay Jamal Adams because of the salary cap. Or with the Jets over the last couple of years, Muhammad Wilkerson, you had to overpay Muhammad Wilkerson to keep Muhammad Wilkerson, and Muhammad Wilkerson did absolutely nothing for the New York Jets the time that he was there after his first contract. So, again, does this help the NFL? I don't know. I know the NFL is trying to figure out different ways to speed up the game or make the game more interesting to watch. Like I said, I just don't see it being more interesting to watch because of implementing new rules that they think is going to help the game.
Right. And I also think, too, part of winning in football is earning your possessions back. And I think you're giving a defense or an offense that was just on the field and just scored, you're giving them basically a free gift to get back on the field, which could tire out a defense unnecessarily kind of thing. They should have to earn their possession back, and that involves recovering an onside kick. Now, if you want to make it easier, maybe change the kickoff rule, that would be a little different. Because obviously they changed it last year where they can't get a running start, which, okay, is understandable. But again, maybe you change it where if you are doing an onside kick, maybe you do get a running start. But you have to tell everyone beforehand, tell the referees who's eligible for running start. I don't think doing it this way really benefits because, one, you're taking away the special teams element, part of the strategy of the game. And two, I don't think you should be able to manipulate a tired defense by letting him go on the field again as an offensive strategy. So I don't think from that standpoint you're really earning that possession back. If your defense goes 3 and out and gets the stop they need to, gets the key stop, yes, you deserve to get the ball back. But from a strategy standpoint, it just doesn't make sense to me. And again, I don't think it's going to be overly used. So I don't know if they would implement it, if it would be that big of a deal because coaches are not going to use it stupidly. They're not going to say, all right, we're down by 7 in the third quarter. Let's do this again, because if you miss, they're getting the ball at their 25-yard line, essentially in the red zone. So I don't think a lot of players would do it. I don't like it, though, for the element of you can't just be able to tire out a defense like that and then just have them put back on the field just as an instant possession type thing.
I understand that the NFL and Roger Goodell have their way of doing things. And maybe rule changes are going, in their eyes, is going to help the game. I disagree. Now, if you're going to take away special teams, take it away completely. That's what I'm going to say. If punt returns and kick returns are causing more problems than it's helping the game, then stop trying to add new rules or add new stories to the NFL where people are going to argue, look at the new rule that they brought in with the Saints situation. What is that thing they call?
Pass interference.
No, but not the pass interference rule.
The pass interference challenge
play. The challenge plays. And now they're trying to take it away. Now the NFL is trying to take away the one thing they brought to the game a year ago. Mm-hmm. So obviously it didn't work, and maybe it's slowing the game down, and I understand that they want the game to be a little bit more faster. But again, it affected the Saints for going to the Super Bowl against the Rams, and the Rams went to the Super Bowl and completely destroyed and torched by the New England Patriots, and maybe it would have been a better Super Bowl if the Saints were there.
Oh, I agree.
But nevertheless, it doesn't help us right now. And the fact is the NFL, who I think are a bunch of morons. And I've said this over and over again. I think out of all the organization, yes, they're a multi-billion-dollar organization, and they're very well respected, not only for endorsements and sponsorships because they are the biggest sport in the world besides soccer or European football, but to me, they've been a complete disgrace to not only their players, the former players, and really what they're trying to implement. How about the new rule that you're trying to do with the black coaches, bringing in more African-American coaches. And if you bring in an African-American coach, you will get more draft picks. So how does that help, or how does that implement a game that has been back and forth with not only with the rules, but trying to add and subtract things that don't make any sense for the game.
Yeah, either way, it's over-strategizing to where you're changing the rules from what these guys grew up playing, too. So a lot of these kickers that practice onside kicks, a lot of these special teams gunners, and even top receivers they put on these hands team, they call it kind of thing, they practice this kind of thing. So to take it away from the game now, you're only discrediting certain teams and benefiting others. And again, that's player development. That's who you are. But at the same time, you're really also discrediting another part of the game. game, and you're also going to have a lot of players lose jobs because of this too, that were good special teams players or even Pro Bowl special teams players, like a Matthew Slater.
To me, it just doesn't make any sense. And I'm not going to keep rehashing myself on what the NFL should or should not do, because I am not an owner of an organization. Plus, I'm not Roger Goodell. I would like to be Roger Goodell, because I'd love to make $45 million a year doing absolutely nothing and building sponsorships and advertisements through a company that's a multi-billion-dollar company anyways, and I could have found ways of doing that. I'm trying to find ways with our network as we speak, but it's completely different from using a sport where there's full contact and you have these high-power athletes, 350-pound linemen that can run a 5'1". I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous, these athletes, what they are today and what they've transitioned and really changed to over the years. So I envy what the NFL has done for the organization, bringing in sponsorships and advertisements. I don't envy how they treat the players, how they treat the product in a way where the fans would be more excited to watch it, or maybe just strive to change the rules to make it better for them. I disagree what the NFL is trying to do. I think the NFL needs to figure out ways to make the game better, not worse.
Yeah, it's too weird with a lot of these rule changes they're trying to do. And again, just trying to overreact and then overreact again. We were talking about the pass interference thing earlier. You tried it for 1 year and it progressively got better. The coaches got used to it, the strategy of it. The players got used to it in a sense where I think later in the season there was less calls as a whole. And from the standpoint of coaching strategy, they know how to use the challenges and they know how to use the timeouts and what the referees are looking for. They're not going to call it if it's definitive. Coaches got used to that, and they started to strengthen it up on it. Now, I don't think this rule is going to be like that because it's very situation dependent too, where there's just going to be so many different instances where they would have needed an onside kick or just get the offense back on the field. So I don't see that really being a benefit where they'll get used to it anyway. So I don't really like it in terms of just the over strategy of it and just changing it so much from what the game was. These guys grew up a different way.
Absolutely unique, and the NFL needs to stop trying to change rules. It just doesn't make any sense. And if you want to change the rule completely, get rid of kickoffs, get rid of punt returning, and you would solve all the problems with the CTE, probably most of the problems with the CTE. If that's what you want to do and that's what you're trying to implement into the game to make it faster and make it better, then you do that. Don't add rules that don't make sense.
Mm-hmm. And again, the instant possession thing, football's not supposed to be that way. You're supposed to earn your possessions back. What if you're winning, too, and you haven't used it yet? Up 7, you haven't used it yet, and you say, all right, I'm just going to take the ball back. That shouldn't happen. You should have to earn your possessions back, get the key defensive stops. If you're in a close game and you just take the lead and score, you shouldn't be able to get the ball back.
Absolutely ridiculous. It really is. When we come back, the URI head coach of the baseball team, Raphael Cerrato, here on Down to the Wire.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Down to the Wire on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
631-965-4990. As you guys know, this is Down to the Wire. We are live every single Monday through Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. New York Eastern Time. We had a sensational interview with Yale basketball head coach James Jones. And our second guest, and I was looking forward to interviewing him. Finally, we got him online. We are now talking to URI baseball head coach Raphael Cerrato. What's going on, Raphael?
Not too much. How are you doing tonight?
We are good, man. It's been crazy with everything that's going on with COVID-19. It's been very, very slow, but obviously we're still doing our show, and we're happy to have you on. How are you and your family doing with this pandemic?
We're doing good. I mean, we're basically home. We haven't left the house very much in the last couple of months. My wife is able to work from home. Nothing's changed too much for her, which is great. Our stepson's doing online high school work, which is a little different for him. And, I'm trying to do everything I can here, still relatively busy. But this is getting old pretty quick for us in our profession. So hopefully things seem to be going in the right direction right now. Hopefully it keeps going in the right direction.
Well, before we get into the baseball situation, I don't know if you're a big basketball fan or are you tuning into The Last Dance with the Chicago Bulls of 1998, the championship teams. You had an opportunity to really see the growth of Michael Jordan and those teams from the 80s to the 90s. Did you have the opportunity to watch that?
Oh, definitely. My wife and I were like locked into that for the last few weeks. It was awesome. I mean, I was, everyone loved Jordan. I'm a huge Boston Celtics fan. I'm a big basketball fan. So I followed Jordan. I never rooted necessarily for him because I always liked the underdog. And honestly, the Celtics weren't very good during that period when Jordan was at his best. But that was awesome to watch that, seeing behind the scenes and just seeing his mentality, his toughness. I mean, he was definitely a tough teammate, but he was a different breed, man. That's why he's the best ever. I mean, along with his able, just his mindset, his work ethic. He finding the slight from anything possible to get him motivated. It's crazy. It's an incredible story. It was fun to watch.
We are talking to URI baseball head coach Raphael Cerrato. Coach, now let's get to your team and the recruiting situation. With everything going on with the pandemic, has it hurt your opportunity to recruit some of the players moving forward?
For sure. I mean, the thing is, everyone's in the same boat right now. It's not like we're the only school. So, and right now the NCAA dead period is through June, till June 30th. Hopefully that's not extended into July, because we do want to get out there in a safe way to see games and see kids. But it's every school's in the same boat, and really, I think with everyone, basically every player getting a waiver or a red shirt for this year, it does affect recruiting. So, honestly, we're going to have about 18 or 19 freshmen on our roster next year because all of our freshmen come back as freshmen. So, along with our incoming guys. So it's going to be, it'll affect recruiting for the next 4 years because all these guys, every player redshirted. We have 6 to 7 seniors returning that we weren't expecting to have next year. So our roster is going to be big. It's going to be bigger than normal because those kids don't count against your roster. It's going to be tough. We're going to be good. I mean, we're really super excited for next year. But it's going to be competitive, and the recruiting. I'm hoping we're going to get a chance to get out there. I mean, we are in good shape. We've had a few commitments for the kids coming in for the 2021 grads, some verbal commitments. So we only really need a couple more guys in that class, and we're looking at kids that are currently sophomores. I mean, it starts early in baseball, so we're in good shape. But we definitely need to want to get out there. Hopefully, at some point this summer to see some kids play. We have a big list of guys that we want to see, and we're excited to see them. Hopefully that can happen at some point this summer.
This season, the little bit of it that you did play, you had some nice wins against Arizona, who was ranked at the time, Maryland, and Central Michigan. What is that? What are those wins, even if they weren't series wins, all series wins, show about the growth of the program as a whole since when you started?
Well, we've been pretty competitive since I've been here, and even before I was the head coach as the assistant, and Jim Foster before me. We've had a pretty solid program for a while now, and I'm a URI grad, so it's pretty special to me to be here. We weren't very good when I was here playing. We're a lot better now. But we had a good club. We had a really good club. We had good wins. We could have a couple more wins in there, but we had 2 good games against Arizona, who was ranked, beat them once, beat Central Michigan twice, who was ranked, had a win against Maryland, and had a good our final weekend against Delaware State. We put up a bunch of runs, and we were good. We had a great, probably the best offense I've had in the 8-9 years I've been at the program. So that was, it was disappointing. I mean, the first few days especially, it was tough. It was, the seniors, we weren't sure if they were going to be able to come back, and it was really, really difficult. But after a week or two, it's like, I felt it was hard to really focus because of everything that was going on in the world. It's like, I felt selfish worrying about our team and our season. So it's been tough, but it's more, everyone is in a difficult spot in the entire world. It's not just, our region or our sport or whatever. I mean, it's everyone. So it's, you almost feel selfish if you're kind of woe is me about our season. I mean, it was tough, and and we were excited. And it's funny, we just saw Division I baseball, D1 baseball just came out with their regional team, and they had us in the regional, which is great to see. But it's also, oh my God, I wish because the regionals would be starting this coming weekend. So it's tough. I mean, our last weekend would have been our conference tournament, and it's frustrating to not be playing right now for sure.
Well, Coach, we've been interviewing a lot of baseball coaches this week, and believe it or not, this is like our coach week where we're interviewing all coaches on our show. We interview FDU Knights head coach Rob DiToma, and we also interviewed the Richmond Spiders head coach Tracy Woodson. And I asked him the same question. Now, when you're recruiting a player, do you recruit a top pitcher? I know pitching is at its premium right now, and it's not very easy to find if you're not a top collegiate school. But do you look for a pitcher, or are you looking for that everyday player that can play defense, play offense, and do the things that you expect him to do?
Well, I mean, we're certainly looking for both. I mean,
of course,
every year you're looking to bring in pitching, so that doesn't change. You're always looking to bring in arms. Some years it might be 3 or 4. Some years it might be 5 or 6 guys. So each year, but you're always looking for arms. So that's consistent. I mean, positionally, in most top programs, I mean, we're, at our level, you kind of focus on more of the middle of the field guys, like the guy in high school, like shortstops, catchers, center fielders, your best athletes. Because if they can play shortstop, you can play anywhere. And most of your best athletes are playing short or maybe center. And then you have the catching position. So those are kind of the positions you look at first, the most. And we probably have out of our 16, 17 position players, probably half of them were shortstops in high school. Now they know we're not going to be shortstops at this level, but so we look for certain things. The first one is it's the right kind of kid. I believe we've built a program that has really quality individuals. That's very important for us. We want to enjoy coming out to the park every day to field or hitting barn and just being together. And so that's first and foremost. You want the right person. And I'm not going to overlook that for talent. So that's number one is the right fit for us. And then you're looking for certain things, on the mound, we're not necessarily going to get the kids throwing 90, 93 in high school. Either they're getting drafted or they're going to like LSU or Virginia. But that next level guy that's projectable. We've had a lot of success of guys going on from it and going on to pro ball. They have guys that are good in high school, but we believe with the work that we can in the coaching we're going to give them that they're going to get a lot better. So that's, pitching wise, that's kind of what we're looking for is that guy that has a chance to really blossom at the next level as he gets stronger, as he kind of work a little mechanics, and the kind of for pitching wise, we're always looking for someone. What does he have for a swing and miss pitch at this level? That's important. Whether it's his fastball, a changeup, slider. What does he have that can get people out? So that's, velocity is great, but it's not the end all. So there's a lot of things we're looking for pitching wise. Positionally, we're looking for certain things as a hitter. It's not too many guys. You see a lot of guys really sometimes get a lot better in college on the mound. You don't necessarily see that as much offensively as a hitter. So, if you're not hitting well in high school and you're striking out, I mean, there's a good chance you're not going to hit in college. So, someone who's definitely has success. But we're looking for certain things in terms of athleticism. If someone who's versatile, we have a lot of versatile guys in our program that can play multiple positions. You guys that can do different things. We like speed. Our place is not an easy place to hit, especially early in the year with the cold and wind. So we want guys that can really run and play defense. But we're looking for certain things, certain positions. You want guys that are athletic, and if a guy can really hit, that's obviously number one. You can find a spot for him on the field. So. But there's a lot of things. We get really in depth in terms of, not only their ability, but like I said before, what kind of kid are they? And are they motivated? Are they hungry? Are they a good teammate? So there's a lot of factors. And I think my coach and my staff has done a great job, recruiting the last few years of bringing in the right type of player in our program.
We are talking to URI baseball head coach Raphael Cerrato.
Raphael, in terms of the strategy, we're talking about the Power 5 teams getting all the recruits and stuff like that. You being obviously not a mid-major, but again, a pretty good mid-major, A-10 school. You being that type of manager, playing against those types of teams, we mentioned some of them earlier, is there a certain managerial strategy? Do you try to aim for doing certain little things to try to get an advantage that way? Is there a certain strategy that is different from your norm that you use against those teams? And if so, what is it?
I don't think so. It's a lot of times you play. We've been, if you look at our schedule in recent years, we play everybody. And like even for example, next season on our schedule, I mean, hopefully there's going to be issues with budgets and things like that. So hopefully we play this. But we have Arizona State, East Carolina, Nebraska, Old Dominion, Kansas State. All those teams are on our schedule next year for series. So we play a very, very competitive, and that'll never change. And it's tough. It's tough for us to play those teams, especially early in the year when they've been outside a lot and we haven't. But I don't think anything. The key is having talent to play, and I think putting our players in situations that they play, they're used to playing in front of 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people, because that's important. Like if you're not used to that can be tough, because you make an error and all of a sudden it stems into another error and a walk and a hit by pitch, another error, and then all of a sudden the game gets out of hand. So you really need more a sense of toughness in your guys than anything to be able to play, because we've been very competitive against teams. We've beaten ranked teams every year. So it's not necessarily a different strategy. It's honestly it's playing solid baseball. You don't want to give these teams extra at bats, extra runners. So defense, not walking guys and then playing good defense is the most important thing against a really good club, because they will take advantage of it. You can't get away with that compared, a top program as opposed to maybe a lesser program we might play. You can't get away with that stuff. So it's just playing clean baseball. No matter what it is. If you're playing Arizona State, you're playing whoever in the Northeast, it's still baseball. It's one-on-one battles, pitcher and hitter, have good at bats, play good defense, throw strikes, and then you're going to put yourself in position. If you got the talent, which we do, you're going to put yourself in position to win some games.
Coach, one of our fans is he sent us a message and he said, ask him about his field turf. Does it play faster than the normal field?
A little bit. I would say a little bit. It's a little bouncy. It can be a little bouncier than grass and dirt. If you get a chopper or you get like a little blooper that could bounce over the outfielder's head, that's kind of the big difference. Is if you could get like those choppers or the ones that might bounce or skip if it's a little wet, but not too much different. I mean, as much as I love dirt and grass, and if we were down south, I would definitely want to play on dirt and grass. But in the Northeast, I mean, having a turf you have to, because we're out there practicing in January, February, and no dirt and grass field is going to be ready. So it plays a little quicker for sure, especially if it's wet. And I always teach our guys, if it's a little wet out there, keep that tag on, because guys are not used to, they're going to slide right over the bag every time. So, but it's good. I mean, again, I'm a purist of baseball. I love beautiful grass, clay fields, but I'm also a realist. Like in Northeast college baseball, you better have turf, and so it plays pretty good for the most part. It's not too much different.
Now, Coach, I've been arguing with this guy sitting right next to me for years about the position, the defensive position, and I've been arguing that the shortstop position is the most important position on the field. He thinks it's center field. Could you please tell this kid right next to me that it is the shortstop position?
Well, what was his? He thought what did
center field athletically was the most important position in terms of range
shortstop.
And stuff like that. Okay.
Shortstop. Well, I think center field is huge. It's important, but I mean, shortstop's got more plays. So really, I would say center field is a little bit behind shortstop in terms of how important that position is defensively, because he's just going to get more reps and more chances and more opportunities for errors. I think it's more difficult plays. So I would go short. Although I'd probably, you talk about catcher, that not necessarily in terms of athleticism and range, but I would say catching is the most important defensive position, and then shortstop.
You know what's funny?
Center.
It's funny that you say that, because I said shortstop, and then I said the second most important position is the catching position. Yeah. And he says, no, it's the outfield. It's center field. And I love it. I should have asked every single coach this year, every single coach we interviewed this week on what they thought about that, because I think Speedy was out of his mind when he was trying to argue that. But that's just me.
Well, I think you're right. Well, I think you think about this. You could pretty much. We had a freshman shortstop this year who's a stud, really, really good player. I could put him in center field, and he would be an above-average center fielder. Where I can't take my center fielder. My center fielder is outstanding defensively, but I couldn't. Well, he's lefty, so he definitely couldn't play short. But you can't take outfielders and put them at shortstop. So I would say you're better athletes playing short for the most part.
I still can't believe you brought up that argument back 2.5 years ago. I forgot about that one completely. I remember it now, but I forgot about it.
I don't forget anything.
I see that. Usually
I'm an elephant.
Usually I remember those things. That one I didn't remember.
I'm an elephant. I have the brain of an elephant.
All right. Raphael, one of the big experiences that you had as a coach was the 2016 College World Series. Your team upset the top-seeded South Carolina Gamecocks in their own building, no less, which was very impressive. Yeah. Just talk about that experience, that season, that game, and the things that were most memorable to you.
Well, that was obviously a great year. We won the A-10 championship. We got hot at the right time, and we ran through. I think we outscored the opponents like 45 to like 8 in the A-10 tournament. So we were hot, and our number one pitcher was an All-American. We knew he could beat anybody in the country. He was really, really good. So going down there, I mean, I knew they were going to take us lightly, but we knew South Carolina was very good. So, I mean, the atmosphere, it's a beautiful stadium. I mean, it's basically a major league park. You know, it's like 10, 12,000 people. It was packed. They were all over us, yelling at us. And we loved it. I mean, it was great. And it's funny. I think they hit 2 home runs in the first inning or first 2 innings. We were down 4-0 early. I'm like, oh man, this could get away from us. But our starting pitcher hung in there, and he ended up dominating him through. And we played an awesome game, and got a couple big hits, back-to-back home runs, a big knock there, I think 5th or 6th, and then we held on. And honestly, it was probably the best win in the history of our program. I mean, it was our first NCAA tournament win. You know, we beat South Carolina. It was like 5th or 6th in the country at their place in front of 10,000, 12,000 people. I mean, it's an experience our guys will never forget. It's something that, we're striving to get back to that point. We've been close to getting back to the regionals, and I mean, it was a phenomenal experience just all around. We played a great game. Like I said before, we played clean, no errors, a couple of big hits, great pitching. Our 2 relievers shut the door in the 8th and 9th inning. I mean, we had some guys on base, and it's funny. I think the score was 5-4 in the 5th, and ended up being 5-4. And I'm usually always nervous during games. Like, are we going to hold on? For some reason, I just felt so good about that we were going to hold on and get that W. And it was an awesome experience. And just getting texts from our alumni and friends of the program that night. I mean, I probably got 150 texts that night. It was a great experience for our guys to go through that. And it was awesome. My wife had a chance to go down too, and it's something that she'll never forget either. And she's not a huge fan of South Carolina fans because they were not very nice to us during that game. But I didn't hear any of that stuff. But it was awesome. It was an awesome experience.
We are talking to URI baseball head coach Raphael Cerrato. Now, Coach, I know a lot of fans, and matter of fact, one of our fans keep posting, talk about Michigan. What does he think about the run for the title game? So I'll ask you that question first. What did you think about Michigan and winning the title last year?
I mean, Coach Backus is a great coach. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job. I mean, traditionally, we've had a good program, but just with it was fun. It's good to see northern schools have success. I mean, I think the level, the playing field is evening much more than it was 10, 20 years ago. Much more. Schools like Michigan, they wouldn't have won. Teams in the Northeast, UConn, us, even Stony Brook a few years ago when we went to the World Series. Northeastern, there's teams that can really compete at the highest level. So it's good to see that. I was rooting for the northern schools because they were certainly at a disadvantage. But they were phenomenal, phenomenal job, great team. They have unlimited resources, a program like that with the kind of money they have from football and basketball. So they definitely have, it's not as big a disadvantage for a school like that because they can do a lot of different things with that, with facilities and travel. But, I'm always rooting for northern schools because it shows that we can play with anybody.
Now, Coach, I know I'm pretty sure URI is in Rhode Island, if I'm not mistaken. So,
it is, yes.
Yes. So I know it's close to a city with the first letter begins with B, okay? And that's Boston, the Red Sox. Yep. Tell me that, first of all, are you a Boston Red Sox fan?
I am a Boston Red Sox fan.
Oh, come on, Coach. What are you doing to me?
Yeah. I grew up in Connecticut. I grew up in Connecticut, northern Connecticut, which is basically split. between Red Sox and Yankees fans. So
Of course.
And I've always hated, especially in the '90s, man, I hate the Yankees. It changed. 2004 changed a lot for me as a fan.
Of course it did.
It was doomsday every year for us Red Sox fans, but it certainly changed a lot. But I'm a little down on the Red Sox right now for trading Mookie Betts. I'm not happy about that. So I don't know what I might end up being. My nephew's a shortstop for the Diamondbacks, so I might be rooting a little more for the Diamondbacks in the coming years than the Red Sox.
Well, they brought a good young GM from Tampa, so hopefully he can rebuild.
Yeah, I don't really like. They're kind of saying, we can't afford Mookie Betts. You're the Boston Red Sox. You have a lot of money. Like you don't trade Mookie Betts. You just don't do it.
Maybe he'll come back. Maybe he'll come back.
Yeah, I doubt that. I doubt it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, again, you were talking about the Red Sox, and, again, a lot of new shifts with Shane Bloom now coming in, as Errol was mentioning, a new GM from the Red Sox. Again, they're trying to get out of a lot of these bad contracts that they've had between pitchers and guys like Rusney Castillo. And I always said with Shane Bloom is what they're trying to do is they're trying to just find gems to maybe get through the times, and then when they get their money back, they'll be back in terms of spending. Do you think that's what they're trying to do? And what do you think his approach will be with that?
I would say, they definitely had a lot of, big contracts. Price and, Betts was going to be coming up, and, Porcello's, I think, is done now. And, but they gave a lot of money to Sale, and that was kind of risky. And, he's a guy that definitely have had injuries, and his body type, you don't know if he's going to last. I'm not sure what their plan is. I'm certainly trying to get rid of the contracts, but if teams are spending, Red Sox make a lot of money. They fill that place every night, the TV contracts. So if anyone should be in the top 2 or 3 every year, it should be the Red Sox. Like, they don't tell me you don't have the money to sign, especially a guy, like I said, I keep, bringing back the Mookie, but he's a guy, you can't lose a guy like that. He's one of the top 3 or 4 players in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You're the Red Sox. You're not, Tampa. Like, you can afford, you have to pay this guy. So, a guy like, especially a position player where, odds are he's going to stay healthy and be good for another 6, 8, 10 years, hopefully. Pitchers, it's risky. You offer more 3 or 4 year deal. That is, guys get hurt. It's almost inevitable that at some point you're going to get hurt. And then, I'm not sure, would they sign a guy like Sale in the future for that long term? It's tough. It's tough to, what they're going to try to do. They got some good young players, but, I don't cry poverty to me, if you're a Boston Red Sox. I'm sorry.
Oh, they got to stay away from Chris Sale. I would be far away from Chris Sale. They just gave him a big-time contract. What was it, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I think it was a big mistake. I think it was a big mistake.
Yeah, and he just had, I believe he just had Tommy
John
earlier this year. So, you could see that coming. Like, he could never last the whole season and be 100% healthy. And, I don't know. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
I threw you under the bus there. I did.
Yeah, that's all right.
We are talking to URI baseball head coach Raphael Cerrato. Now, before we let you go, and I'm a huge baseball fan. I grew up, I was a center fielder, and I love the competitiveness, and I would love to come down there to Rhode Island and maybe do it, have an interview with some of your players, and we would love to go over there and really get the insight of some of your young players and where they see themselves as baseball players. Now, this is my last question for you. With everything that happened with the Houston Astros situation with Rob Manfred, and I think this has really been completely blown out of proportion, but nevertheless they cheated, and I believe the MLB did not do enough to prove that this should never happen again. What is your thoughts to the whole Houston Astros situation and the Boston Red Sox situation? Yeah. And do you feel that they didn't lay the hammer enough on those teams?
I definitely think it could have been more. It could have been more punishment for the Astros and the Red Sox. I think it's terrible for the game. And it's funny, I had this, like I said before, my nephew's a shortstop for the Diamondbacks, Nick Ahmed, and I had a conversation to him about this too, and talking about that, and he's like, do you think you guys do it? He's like, no. It's like, we don't. He's like, how do you feel about that? And it's like, it's terrible. I think there's if you can pick up, and my thought behind this, if you can pick up whether, a guy at second base, you can pick up a sign from the catcher, or the pitcher's tipping something, stuff like that, you can get on the field, like, that absolutely is fair game, that kind of stuff. Or you can look at video from a previous game and you can pick something up. I think that's fair game. But any, in-game technology that's at the same time as a game, using iPads in the dugout, seeing video during the game, I think that is absolutely, should be not allowed, and, it shouldn't happen ever. So I think, in terms, it's part of the game of trying to steal signs, and, I say looking at past video or looking at something that's live during game with your own eyes. I think that's all fair game for stealing, but to use technology, to have a camera set up, that banging on a garbage can, I mean, that's brutal. And should never, ever be allowed. And I think they could have easily come down harder. It flat out, to me, it's cheating. Yeah, you could kind of say, team cheat, trying to steal signs. That's just picking stuff up with your eyes. If you can do that, that's all part of it. We try to do it, stealing signs from, pitchers, or tipping, or maybe a coach's sign, picking it up. But by using any kind of video or something that's, same time as a game, that's terrible. And it's a disgrace, honestly. And it's going to follow those guys, to me, for the rest of their career. You're going to think of, it's too bad because they're great players, like a Bregman, a Correa, and those guys, like, they cheated and they did it. And even like Cora, who did a great job with the Red Sox, I mean, they're part of that. You're never going to forget that, to me, and that's going to be a stain on their career, which is unfortunate because they probably would have won it anyway, as they didn't have to do it. But I think it's terrible for the game. Shouldn't happen, and they should definitely punish probably more than what they were.
Last question for me. So we've seen in a lot of sports the college transfer portal. We've seen a lot, especially with basketball, being active, where to the extent a lot of guys are getting instant eligibility right away. Now, the rule hasn't been in place with baseball yet. I guess I think from what one of our coaches said yesterday, they're going to vote on it again in January. Would you be in favor of that kind of thing, where the guys would not have to sit out a year and wait it out, and they would just get instantly moved to a new team right away, kind of like a free agency in the pro sports? Are you in favor of that, or should they stick to the old style?
I think they should stick to it. I don't think it's good for the game. I think the problem with that is if a player can just be allowed to transfer, you can transfer. You just have to sit out a year. I think what the problem with that is there's so many kids, and there's some, I'm not going to get into it, but kids playing summer ball, kids talking, kids leaving. I mean, it would be the wild, wild west. I think with moving around, it would hurt a lot of programs. And I don't think it would be the right thing to do for college baseball. I think the rule now it works. I mean, I don't think you should change it. I think it would be terrible for the game because kids would be going all over the place. I mean, right now there's over 800 kids in the Division I transfer portal, which is unbelievable. And again, a lot of that's because you have the kids that are graduating school and they got another year back so they can transfer. So it's more than normal, way more than normal this year. But I don't think it would be good for a college game at all. And I think that's, the issue. I think the problem too, recruiting wise, if you go back a little bit, if you guys got a second, I mean, I think kids are committing so early right now. They don't make great decisions. I think there's a lot of kids that commit too early and they don't necessarily make the best decision. Like that's the right school for them. I think what should change to me is the ability to sign a letter of intent at any point during your high school career. So if you want to sign your letter of intent as a freshman or sophomore, kids calls, those offers wouldn't go out there as much. Kids wouldn't commit so early because they wanted to be sure. And then you end up getting the right school instead of maybe just picking a school because of the name or maybe the scholarship offer, but it's not really the right fit. And then it ends up being a bad decision. So, you get kids who want to transfer. So I think that rule should stick. I think they should really look into giving this high school kid the ability to sign a letter of intent at any point. And you would see a lot less kids committing so early. And, you're talking about kids committing when they're freshmen, kids committing verbally before they even had their freshmen, before they even played varsity baseball. I mean, that's not right. That's not a good decision for a 14, 15-year-old kid to make, to choose a school. And I think that's where you end up getting a lot of bad decisions. And I think if that changes, you get less kids who make bad decisions. Schools, are throwing out offers left and right to kids that are 8th grade, 9th grade, and it ends up being a bad move for everyone. So Yeah, I think that should stick, because I think a lot of problems could happen if you allow kids to just transfer left and right and just go play right away. It wouldn't be good for the game.
Coach, before we let you go, I want the fans to know how they can find you on social media.
Yeah, I'm not let's see. R Cerrato 18 is my Twitter. Instagram, honestly, at the top of my head, I don't even know what it is. But I think I'm probably going to get a little more active on that, because it's probably good for for the younger kids, high school kids to
and
follow
recruiting
and things like that for recruiting.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you could probably go to our Rhode baseball account for Twitter, and Instagram has a lot of great stuff on it, and you can find me on there as well. But yeah, we got a lot of good stuff on our social media for our kids. Actually, some of our players do work with us on our Instagram account. They do an awesome job with that. It's really some funny stuff too. They did a good thing this spring with doing interviewing our guys. So that's probably a little more exciting to follow than me personally. But so that's what I would recommend.
Well, I would love to, like I told you, me and Speedy would love to come do a live show over there in Rhode Island when there's a season next year, and we can interview some of your players, and we would love to get to hang out with some of your team and really see the inside of your coaching on the field.
Sure. Yeah, anytime, guys. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Do me a favor. Text me on this number your email address. Speedy over here is going to cut out the audio bites and send it to you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Okay, stay safe.
You too. Coach Raphael Cerrato, he is the URI baseball head coach. Great interview. Really gave us some good insight of really what's going on in baseball, his thoughts with the Houston Astros and the Boston Red Sox, and we found out he's a Boston Red Sox.
You triggered him a little bit.
Why is that?
You were annoyed he was a Red Sox fan. You were hoping to just roll with the questions for what it seemed like.
I knew he was a Red Sox fan because he said he went to URI. He's from Connecticut, and being that he's in Rhode Island, more than likely he's a Red Sox fan. So,
and he also said he was a Celtics fan.
Yeah. So, and that was another thing that I noticed. And I love the fact that I won that argument from 2 years ago. So that's something on my shoulder. I could just rub the shoulder right here, give myself a pat on the back because I was right about that. I should have asked the other coaches yesterday, but I completely forgot. I said, you know what? I'm going to ask this guy. I want to ask Coach what he thinks. And obviously, the two positions that I said was more important to center field, I was right about. So there you go. So,
all right. Well, you got somebody on your side.
1-0 me.
So now we're just going to keep track of this the whole time.
Oh, man. So, Speedy, what else were we going to get into before the show was over?
One of the things that broke today was the NHL getting into their new playoff format has been announced, where they are going with a 24-team playoff format this year to obviously compensate for the hiatus that's going on for the last 2 months. And it would likely start in early or mid-July, and players would start congregating in two different cities.
Congregating?
Yes, in
Great
two
word.
different cities. One for the Western Conference, one for the Eastern Conference, and at a certain point in June. The host cities there's a certain list of, I think, 8 different cities that are eligible: Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Edmonton, Vegas, LA, Minneapolis, Pittsburgh, Toronto, and Vancouver. They're going to pick eventually at some point. And the structure is going to be the top 4 in each conference get a bye. So in the East, it's the Bruins, Lightning, Capitals, and Flyers. In the West, it is the Blues, Avalanche, Golden Knights, and the Dallas Stars. So they would all get byes. 5 through 12 play 5-game series to advance. So 5 plays 12, 6 plays 11, etc. And then they would just play it out like normal, like the normal NHL playoffs after that. So
well, 5-game series. That's what they said.
5-game qualifying series for the 5 through 12 seeds in each conference. So the Penguins, Hurricanes, Islanders, Leafs,
Rangers,
Blue Jackets, Panthers, Rangers, Canadiens in the East. And in the West, 5 through 12 is the Oilers, the Predators, Canucks, Flames, Jets, Wild, Coyotes, and Blackhawks. And also they said in terms of the draft lottery, any team that loses in the first round in that qualifying round can be eligible for the draft lottery like it would normally be if
Really?
they would have missed the playoffs. Yep. Which is that end of it I found crazy.
Interesting.
Think about if a team like the Penguins and the Predators that already have a lot of talent, if they somehow get shocked in the first round, they could get a top pick.
It's crazy. I disagree on how the NHL are trying to do this and relinquish the season that they've practically lost the last 15, 16 games. But it does get the Islanders and the Rangers into the playoffs, and it's anybody's ball game, it's anybody's hockey game. If you get into the playoffs, you squeak in a 5-game series, 3 games that you have to win. Both teams have an opportunity to move along in the playoffs, especially with the talent of the team, and being that there is such a layoff of the season, it gives the opportunity of these teams to really get healthy. I mean, Pellick was out for the season with a torn Achilles.
Right.
He might be eligible to play. I don't know if he is eligible to play or if he's going to play because he tore his Achilles.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that works with the season-ending IR.
Yeah,
things.
I don't know. I don't know if he'll be able to come back, but it also gives the Islanders an opportunity, and the Rangers, and some of these teams that make the playoffs, an opportunity to bring some of their young players up from the AHL.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see how this is going to work moving forward, and I do believe there will be a playoff for the NHL as well as the NBA, and I do believe there'll be an MLB season. So, and there's definitely going to be a football season.
Yeah,
it's not even a question.
It's interesting because I'm surprised they did that many teams the way it was, because 24 is almost half the league. There's only 7 teams that missed the playoffs in this instance, so that surprised me. A team like the Canadiens, which is rebuilding and very bad, they now get a chance to play in the playoffs against the Penguins, who were one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So that end of it was very strange to me, and like we were saying earlier, the draft lottery thing was very strange, where you could see a Nashville Predators team that's one of the most talented in the league get a top pick if they lose. It's very weird to me. The other thing to look at, too, is being it's in July, how will the ice surfaces be?
That's true.
And how's that going to affect it? And that can make it more beneficial.
Depending where it is.
Yeah, and that's why I think
where they're going to have the games.
I think it is going to end up either in Canada or in Minnesota, because I think they have to do it that way, being it's in the summer. If they tried to push it to the fall maybe, and then maybe delayed the next season kind of thing, and then they spread it out to some of the American cities that we listed, then it would be a different instance. But I feel like maybe the East definitely has to be Toronto, and the West either is in Minnesota or in Edmonton, just because of the ice surfaces. I really don't think you could do it in any other way. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of slippery games and a lot of sloppy play in the playoffs, which, again, it's crazy in itself to begin with, the NHL playoffs, but it just make it a sloppier. It's
going to be really, really interesting how the NHL is going to implement this and how they're going to move forward with this. But Gary Bettman, as much as I can't stand the man, I don't hate him as much as I hate Roger Goodell. So I think Gary has been very interesting when it comes to the rules and changing and making the game a little bit more faster. So I'm sure he'll figure this out and make this work. And nobody can argue that the NHL playoffs is the best playoff for all the professional sports. So it will make it really more interesting when you have 12 teams from the East and 12 teams for the West making the playoffs, and it's anybody's hockey game. It really is.
All right. Carl in the comments is saying the ice doesn't matter. Yeah, in the summer it will. We're not starting it now. We're starting it in July, when it's going to be humid in a lot of those southern climates. So the fact that Vegas, a city like Vegas, was in the running is surprising. You have to be able to keep the ice surfaces so it doesn't get slushy and wet, especially in a skating speed league that we have now. So the ice will end up mattering for that kind of instance. That's why I think you're going to see mainly, I think, Edmonton, Toronto, or Minnesota, maybe Chicago, but I think they're going to try to err on the side of the Canadian teams for sure, in Minnesota, which is practically Canada, America.
It's going to be really, really fun to watch. I can't wait for the hockey season, and maybe we'll have the opportunity to go to the NHL playoffs. So I'm looking forward to it. So good luck for the NHL. I do believe the NBA is coming back. They're right now opening all the facilities, so the players are going to be able to work out now, and things are starting to move forward. I mean, they're opening up restaurants. They're going to be opening up restaurants soon, and barber shops and beauty salons. So I think a lot of things hopefully will go back to normal. I don't think it'll be at 100% until they figure out a vaccine for this. But all in all, as long as sports comes back and it brings back a little bit more fun for the fan to really, instead of watching old movies or even the movies, a lot of these actors are not really working. So when's the next big time movie coming out? Avatar was supposed to come out this year. I'm hearing that it might be pushed off sometime at the end of next year. So
it's long overdue.
Yeah, I know that. 3 movies that I've been waiting for. So it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. We'll be back on Thursday for Below the Mic. Who do we have on Below the Mic?
We have Evan Conti. I don't know who he is off the top of my head. Jillian got him. Evan Conti. He's another coach. I got to figure out what it is.
That's fine.
He's the only one as of right now for
good.
Thursday.
You know why? Because we have a lot of content to get out, and I want to give a shout out to all the coaches we've had on the show. I'm not arguing that we are getting these special guests because the guests have been absolutely wonderful.
You're just hoping for more baseball coaches just to ask that question.
Absolutely. I should have asked Woodson. I should have asked D. Tomo.
All right, you got it once today, so I'm impressed.
D-Tomo.
D-Tomo. All right. So you're 2 for 4.
I'm 2 for 4. I'm bad with it. Listen, man, it's just pronunciation. Dude, I'm tired, man. I am just completely tired. If anybody could start off with the day that I've had, and it's been absolutely ridiculous. I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning before I went back to work, and I haven't been at work for almost 11 days. I've been working on bringing in shows for our network and conference calls throughout the day, and I want to give a shout out to all the hard work that Ricky and Jillian have put into our network, and even our writers and some of the interns that we've brought in. They've been absolutely amazing. Go read their stories on our app, guys. Go on our app. If you have Android, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If you have the iPhone and the iOS. You go to WWSRN. We really appreciate everybody listening to our shows every single day. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of work that gets put into this. As much as you guys think that we're sitting here and just talking on a mic, there's a lot more depth to it. This isn't easy, and maybe everybody can sit there and talk about sports with their friends, but to entertain people and get the talent that we get on the show, and really just to entertain you guys as long as we try to. And, we got guys like Snug and Carl and all the different fans that we have, CJ, that really support what we do here. I think you people, not you people, or just everybody as in one, have to understand that there's a lot of work. Everybody that puts in the time and energy into the work that they put into, you hope to get as much out from what you put into it. So, I'd like to thank all the fans that put the time and energy into following us and really sticking with us through this pandemic. And I hope everybody stays safe and get healthy if you're not. And I'm looking forward to moving forward with everything that we're doing.
By the way, Evan Conti is the head men's basketball coach at New York Tech. They're a Division II basketball team. So he will be joining us on Thursday.
Well, as you guys know, we will get into more spiel with Below the Mic, and I'm sure I have a lot of things to say and stuff to hit below the mic on Thursday. So stay tuned for that. I'm sure you guys are going to love this show because there's going to be a lot of laughter, a lot of fun, and a lot of hatred. So stay tuned for that. As you guys know, you can follow us by going to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Go download our app, guys, on iOS and Android. It's free, guys. It's free. So go out there and download it. Stay tuned for Thursday. We have Ryan's show, The Morning Boys. We have a lot of new shows coming to our network in the near future. We're very excited about that. More entertainment for all you guys out there that love sports. You're going to love what we're going to be putting out there and the product we're going to be putting out there in the future. So we're very excited about that. Until Thursday, this is Errol Marks and Speedy saying good night, and we'll talk to you then. Good night, everybody.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.